Today is day 16, and I'm reading from this book with the big teacup. This is called A Gracious Space, and it is a set of 50 essays to be read daily. There are 3 volumes. One volume is fall, that's what we're reading right now, but there's a pink volume for winter with a big cup of hot chocolate on the cover, and then there is a spring volume with a beautiful glass of lemonade and strawberries floating in it, I think, on the cover. And they all do the same thing. We have 50 essays that I've written. They've appeared on Facebook and the blog, and what we did is collected them, put them into books so that you would have something to read each day to give you some homeschool support and encouragement. So let's start with day 16, drafting and sharing. Create a home environment where people do what they do, near each other. I call this drafting off each other's interests. As one watches a movie or reads a book, someone else is online posting to a discussion forum. Someone else may be putting together quesadillas and still another folding laundry. If you inhabit a space together, you can pitch in, shout out a momentary insight, read a tidbit. I'm going to try that paragraph again. If you inhabit a space together, you can pitch in, shout out a momentary insight, read a tidbit from your book aloud, call attention to a funny pun on a TV show, ask a question, or share a new fact. Learning happens when you draft off each other's absorptions and enjoy shared spaces. Quote of the day. We have a big house, but everyone hangs out in the same room, reading or playing with iPods or doing things that could be done in separate rooms. Even the almost teen prefers to do her own thing, surrounded by the rest of the family. Ellen Horner. Sustaining thought. Cozy spaces near those you love don't just show up, but you can create them. Find places in your home to do what you do while your kids do what they do, close to one another. Then let the conversation flow and notice the rich sharing that results. So this is a short one today, but I was thinking about it while I was reading through it. And I was thinking about the house I grew up in. So I grew up in a massive house. I mean, by today's mini mansion standards, it isn't massive. But in the 1970s, it was. It was probably 3,200, 3,500 square feet, 2-story, big Spanish tile, Calabasas Park, like you might have heard of it. That's where the Kardashians live. This was the 70s. It was the beginning of big houses and for, the bedroom community of Hollywood or whatever. So I grew up in this big house, and we had like a floor-to-ceiling window, a floor-to-ceiling space that was 2 stories high with windows all the way up. And that was our living room and dining room. In fact, it was such a big area that my sister and I could do gymnastics. We would run from the front door and we could do round-off flip-flops and backflips into the living room area because there was a lot of room. There was not a lot of cozy. We had a den, we had a family room, we had a kitchen. The family room, which was part of the kitchen, the maybe original idea for a great room, had a television on one wall and a 3-seater sofa on the other. You literally couldn't fit the entire family of 5 on that couch. So there were always a couple kids lying on the floor. And when we would watch TV as a family, that's what we would do. There would be my dad, my mom, maybe one sibling, and the other kids on the floor watching television. Other than that, we were never in the same room. All the kids had their own bedrooms, and we had this big space. I can remember spending hours in our den in this big overstuffed chair, and I was tiny. I was a little thing my whole life, and I'd be in there alone. And I remember thinking while I was reading books or looking through Childcraft or the World Book Encyclopedia, like, where is everybody? Like, there was just this feeling of not having people around. And even though it was a beautiful house and I had my own bedroom and my mother was a great meal maker and decorator, and we did eat family dinner every night. That was something we always did. There wasn't like a city center in this house. My parents were just as often watching TV up in their bedroom as I was watching it downstairs. And my bedroom was downstairs and everybody else was upstairs. So there was this like spaciousness, but it was almost like too much space. So I overachieved when I got married. We didn't make any money and we lived in tiny spaces the entire time. I have 5 kids, 5. And they lived in condos for the first 10 years of Noah's life. Condos where there were 3 children in a bedroom. And the living room, kitchen, and family room, den were all one space and a not very big one. But something happened that I discovered during those years of a much smaller house with a much bigger family. We were around each other all the time. And in fact, when we did move to this house here in Cincinnati 17 years ago, one of my first panicky fears was that it was too big. It's not a big house. It's like 1,900 square feet. And it's like boxy. You know, in Ohio, there are doors on every room. It's like door, 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 door. There's no big great room space from a house in the 70s. But what I discovered is we all hung out back there. We all ended up in our family room that was attached to the kitchen. And we put the kids' computer right in the center of that room, like against the wall where the kids had to be with everybody watching TV. Now, does that sometimes create a conflict? Well, yeah, because the computer is dinging and the television is going, and we bought headphones to try and solve some of those problems. But what happened is that everybody was sort of around each other almost all the time. And in fact, we bought a computer for Noah. I think he was in maybe 9th grade because he needed to do, like, he loves computer programming. That's his career today. So he needed to be able to manage and do his own thing on a computer. But we put it in his bedroom. And he realized that that felt like he missed out on a lot of family dynamic. And so with the next kids, we didn't do that. We kept the main computer down here, and even when people had laptops, they always had them down in the family room. And what I noticed took place in my family, this family, differently than my family of origin, is we just hung out a lot. You know, you would be watching television and someone would immediately have a thought or an idea or a joke, and they would tell it, and even the person on the computer with their back to the TV would laugh or join in or suddenly turn around to watch the great play in baseball or football or whatever it was. And there was this collectiveness to our experience as a family that was so much more, I don't know, group oriented. It created this dynamic that allowed us to share in each other's lives and also to share in each other's growth. So that was one of the reasons that I wrote this little piece. It seemed to me like we could really experience a community, collaborative experience around learning when we actually share a space together. Yeah, everyone does have their own tiny portable computer, but have them bring them into the family room. I remember one of the most exciting nights that we shared together that was so silly is everyone literally had their laptops and the main computer and the TV, like it was all on at once. And I don't even think we talked, but we were in an instant message on Facebook night. It just happened spontaneously, and it was hilarious. Literally no one talked, but we were all sending each other individual messages, and then you would hear like laughter and then furious typing and then laughter, and it became like this fast and furious writing experience for our family without any words being uttered. And we thought that was just so much fun. Yeah, ignore the creeps on Facebook. I will delete every single one of their posts after this is over. Unlike Periscope, I can't just hit block, but we'll get them out of there. Don't worry. I don't know where they're coming from. I was hoping Facebook Live would continue to avoid the sinkhole that Periscope became, so let's hope. So, all that to say, one of the benefits of sharing the family learning lifestyle is that you can talk to each other. It's that you can be in each other's business. It's one of the benefits of homeschooling. That's why there's a kind of learning curve at home that we don't see in the public school as easily. because you're around each other in your home environment. And these conversations can show up while you're all making dinner together, or show up when 3 kids are sharing a bedroom, or show up when you're all in the family room at the same time. So don't despise your small houses. Don't worry too much about kids sharing bedrooms. I know there's a point at which it's nice to have your own room or to feel like you have some individual space, and we want to create that for our kids. But it's also a benefit, one they will look back on and feel good about, that will help them become the people that you want them to be, the educated, well-rounded, in relationship people that homeschooling is all about. Does that make sense? Any questions this morning? You want a little house. You like each other and spending time together. That's fabulous. My 3 boys, 2016, 14, have always shared a bedroom and love it. Yeah, you know what's interesting? When my adult kids come back home, sometimes they need to double up again just because of what we've done with the rooms, or we might have other company, and they always get a kick out of it. It's like a chance to catch up and talk. So if you've created that experience of them living together, negotiating space, that's actually beneficial. When Jacob, my middle child, was a resident assistant at Ohio State University, he said one of the trainings they have to do with brand new residents in dorms is teaching them how to have roommates, because the vast majority of incoming freshmen to college have literally never lived with anyone in a room before. And often that's because it's small families, 2 kids, you can easily each have your own bedroom. So if you've never experienced negotiating space, who's going to clean up the bathroom, who's going to empty the garbage, those are new experiences in college, which makes it challenging. But our families are all learning to do that because of, if you have multiple children or not 2 family incomes, then yeah, you're going to live in a smaller space and you're going to share that space. When I lived in Morocco, one of the gals who was a language tutor for me lived in a 1-room house with 2 parents and 9 kids. And they had these couches that lined the walls of their apartment, and a great big table, round table that they ate at. They all slept on the couches or on the rugs with big blankets. And they had one tiny kitchen where they prepared all the food. And that family, I'm telling you, they were hilarious. So engaged, so in each other's business. I mean, whether or not it's emotionally healthy, I can't even tell you. All I know is that was the limits of their financial circumstance, and that's how they made do. And they were awesome. Like, I loved hanging around them. There was just this community dynamic. When I was in high school, my parents went through a divorce, and my very best friend, who was living in a beautiful home in Malibu Canyon, used to have me over for dinner. They had one of those big kitchens with a huge table, and we would make dinner all together. Her mom, me, siblings, any other friends that got roped into this, and we would make this big dinner, eat it, and then we would move to what they called the pit. It was their living room, but it was a sunken living room, so all the couches kind of were around this big fireplace, and then there was a television, and they were all together in that kind of cozy way. They went from making the food to eating the food to all being kind of cozy, and that always stayed in my mind. That felt like a kind of family dynamic that I really wanted, and I got it, so I'm grateful for that. So if you want to encourage more big, juicy conversations and lively engagement and building off of each other's interests, find ways to be together. Don't be in a big rush to put people in their own bedrooms or to have everybody spread out. I mean, sometimes you need it, right? Sometimes it's wonderful to have a break from each other. I'm not saying you should be hovering over your kids at all times. What I'm saying is, if the central spot where you make food, you eat meals, you watch television, and you play on the computer is one that is a shared space, you will enhance the natural opportunities to learn, to narrate, to teach, and to grow. And that's the idea of today. Yes, this is a fall sweater. In fact, it's from Peru. My daughter Johanna, who is 26 and turns 27 in 2 days, has lived in South America and Central America for the last year. She's been in 7 countries. And when she was in Peru, Noah, her oldest brother, my oldest son, and I flew to visit her. We got to go and visit all of the different amazing sites there. And I bought this sweater while we were there. So, and these earrings. If you know me, you know I love to wear, try to wear different earrings every day to keep you entertained, because otherwise it's just me and that same view behind me over and over again. But yeah, we had a tremendous time. She is in Nicaragua right now and will be coming back to the States on October 18th. So that's going to be wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, open floor plan. One thing that's really nice is if you can knock walls out of your house. It took me about 14 years to be able to have the money to knock out the main wall in my kitchen, and it's been a fantastic move. I wish I could have done it when the kids were younger. Couldn't afford it. And that is the reality of so many of our lives when our kids are young and there's only one person making the money. Or maybe you're earning a little on the side, but you're not really contributing strongly to the family income. These are sacrifices that we make for homeschool. And I'm here to just tell you that they're worthy sacrifices. It's okay to not have a remodeled kitchen while your kids are young. It's okay to have kids share bedrooms. It's okay to rotate who gets to be in the sports. It's okay for your kids to use the library. There is a lot that can be done without money. And money is not always a problem solver. Sometimes money is a problem creator. It gives you too many of too many things, and your kids end up drowning in a sea of options. You can develop your own family culture without worrying about, do I have the best wood floors? Right? One of the benefits of my house with my children was literally that I didn't care too much about it. I didn't really spend any time nagging my kids about keeping the house nice because it was just a very functional house. We had ages-old linoleum, so did I ever care that the dog went running through in the mud? In fact, yesterday I was just reading a journal entry of mine from the early 2000s, and one of the things that I wrote about with such pleasure is the way that we have a creek. It's actually out here, way in the back of my yard. We have a creek that borders my property. And my kids, when we moved from California and having lived in a little tiny condo on a manicured street, they spent hours in this creek, even in February, which is freezing cold. And they would come in the house drenched, just covered in mud. And they would just tramp right up my deck, right into my kitchen. And I didn't care because my linoleum was hideous. It was old and hideous. That is the right kind of linoleum for children, the kind that you don't care about, because I wanted to be excited about them spending time getting muddy in the creek, not worried about protecting my pergo or my perfect wood floors. That's what I get to do now. And you know what's really funny? I picked linoleum. When it came right down to choosing wood, I'm like, no, I don't want to maintain it. I want it to look like wood, but I don't want it to be wood. But the irony is this. We just made do. We had a huge yard, we had a smallish house, and we used what we had. And I didn't worry much about it because the stuff in our house wasn't that nice. And I grew up in a very nice house. So I think there was a desire to have less finicky stuff around house and more togetherness and freedom to be creative and messy and muddy. And that was what we did. So if that's the way it is with you, go for it. Don't feel bad about it. You have so much life left. You can do it in your 50s and 60s. You know, I have white couches now. I didn't have white couches when my kids were here. Are you kidding? We had a garage sale sectional that we bought for $200 that was sage green and didn't match my living room and was already worn out. But it was perfect because I didn't care. I mean, I did my best to make my house attractive. But what I'm saying is it's okay while your kids are growing up for you to not live in House Beautiful. Hang your pictures, get some really great throw pillows. One of my best friends, Dottie, who is like my guru for homeschooling, she would take anything that you gave her, an ugly old Jetson style chair, a hideous couch, and then she'd like buy a kitchen rug from Target that was colorful and just put that on the back of the couch. And that color pop would just relieve it of its ugliness instantly. She hung things like branches we found on a walk on the wall as decoration. And we just made stuff all the time. We were making fairy houses and nature tables and dress-up clothes, and those became the furnishings of our homeschool life. That's what created the memories and the enchantment, not the Pottery Barn look. I have a big joke. I don't know if you've heard me give it before, but whenever I wish my house looked better, I used to just page through a Pottery Barn catalog until the feeling passed. I would like inhabit that space in my imagination, and then I would put it down and go back to living in this space. So that's what I'm talking about. You can create so many amazing memories, conversations, and growth through the experience of a shared, lived-in living space. So live in your living space, share it with your family, and allow yourself to enjoy the opportunities that you have as a family. And focus on that more than you focus on how's beautiful. That's coming. That's coming. And then when you get it, you're like, but there's nobody here. Boo-hoo, because it's so wonderful when they're all here. And that's what Thanksgivings are for. And that's why I'm painting bedrooms. So that the Thanksgiving event will be wonderful too, in a whole new way. So each of you have a fabulous day. I'm Julie Bogart from Brave Writer. Any trolls that showed up, I will delete. Hopefully Facebook will not become Periscope and a pit of hell. I do not want that. I really enjoy seeing all of your comments, and I will be responding to you if you asked questions or just because my favorite place to play is right here. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me today. Live honestly, write bravely, and inhabit your house togetherly. I just made up a word. Aw, that's wonderful. Oh yeah, I just want to add one funny thing. This is a little PS for those of you who are still here. One of my good friends, Beth, years ago, homeschooling mom, who I visited in South Carolina many times, she told me that she allowed her kids to write on their bedroom walls. And it blew my mind because, like I said, I grew up in a nice house. My bedroom was decorated. There's no way you were ever going to write on those walls. Like I had matching furniture and somebody who built bookcases, right? Like that was my childhood. So I have all these kids piled up in these rooms on carpet that we didn't change, that weren't super nice. We painted. I always let my kids paint their own rooms. So they were all kinds of colors. But I never thought about writing on the walls. Well, we let them. And the two girls took it to a level of art. They have drawings, they had all kinds of song lyrics, they had notes, they had things I didn't even know were there until I took off paintings. And we just painted that room, and it took multiple coats of primer to paint over those. I took pictures first. And you know what? It was no big deal. Like I had been lied to. Like if they write on their walls, painting will be terrible. You know what? It really was just not that terrible, right? So you paint it with a primer multiple times, and then you paint it the color you want. But the liberation of being able to write on your bedroom wall is ridiculous. Kids come over and they're like, your mom lets you write on the wall? And they're like, yeah, dude, I have the coolest mom. So if you need some cool mom points, that's one way to get them. And then what are they doing? They are writing on a wall. They are writing. They're writing. They're writing. They're writing little notes. They're writing their favorite quotes. They're writing somebody's name. They're writing something stupid, but they're writing, and they're thinking about writing. So that's a little tip if you need one for cool mom points. And trust me, you can paint over it in iceberg blue from Sherwin-Williams later. Okay? Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. You guys, this is so much fun. I love that before you did your kitchen over, you let the kids paint and draw on everything before construction. Oh, what a great idea. Fantastic idea. I also used to get garage sale furniture, and we would take it outside, and I would use leftover paint from all the colors of my house, and I just let them paint it. and then we would use that furniture. There is something really liberating about allowing kids to use big paintbrushes. So yeah, if you have garage sale furniture, if you have a room you don't care about, we love letting our kids paint their own rooms. Katrin's room was yellow with a lavender chair rail. Blah! But she loved it, and that's where she lives. So that was awesome. Liam's room was bright pumpkin orange, and Jacob's room was fire engine red, and they did it themselves, and their rooms were that way for years. Johanna's room is turquoise. And as you can tell, I'm already a kind of a big fan of color. So that wasn't a stretch for me. But it was great to let them have that jurisdiction, right? To have a place to do it. And when they shared rooms, they had to negotiate that. They had to decide together what would be the right color for that room. All right, everybody. Now I really am going to leave. Oh, this gray? It's called Tavern Taupe. It's Sherwin-Williams, Tavern Taupe. Yeah, I love that color. And upstairs, I have like pastel-y colors now, which is bizarre for me. So maybe I'll show you those one of these days. All right, everybody, I'm going to go. You need to get started with your day, too. Thanks for joining me. Tomorrow, we'll be on day 17, a little preview. It's about writing, growth in writing. So this week is wonderful. We have a lot of fun things to talk about. Oh, and if you signed up for the webinar for the Writer's Jungle, we are allowing 500 people in the live session. That's all we signed up for, and we have over 1,000 registrations. I did not see this coming. So here's what's going to happen. We will send out an email to everyone who registered tomorrow morning explaining. The first 500 will get in live, and then those of you who didn't get in live will get access to the replay. But the replay is only for people who register. So if you want to be in the webinar for the Writer's Jungle, whether it's tomorrow night or in the 24-hour replay, you have to sign up. So to do that, I will post the link in this thread, and then you can go do that, okay? And once we have it and we see how it goes, then we may do it again. But if you want in on tomorrow night's webinar, you need to sign up. And like I said, I had no idea. The live viewers will have some kind of a special discount deal at the end. So I hope you get in, and then we'll hopefully do this again. We're really excited that so many of you are excited to hear me talk about the Writer's Jungle, which is my primary teaching curriculum for Brave Writer. All right. See you all tomorrow morning and then tomorrow night. Bye.